Alright guys, and we're back. Got my pieces of wood. Forgot to mention that you're going to need 6. So obviously 3 is going to make one side. It's going to look similar to this. And then you'll have another side. So first step is once you got your wood cut. Oh, I also forgot to mention you're going to need some screws. They don't really need to be this long. This is about 1.5 inches, these right here. But I ran out of the wood screws, which are these right here. It's golden ones. I ran out, so we're just going to use these, and they will have to suffice. So, anyway, so the first step is once you have your there's a second step really, I guess. Once you have your wood cut, you're going to drill some holes in the wood so we're not going to split it. So what you're going to do is just line these up. Pretty simple here, and we want to get right in the middle. So once you have it lined up where the edges are nice and tight there, I'm going to hold it really tight. Once that's done, we're going to take our drill. This is a corded drill. I like to use the corded drill just because it's faster. It's more powerful. I use the cordless to actually screw in the screws. So we're gonna make our first one, our first drill hole right here. It doesn't really matter exactly where it is, but we want one in the top and one in the bottom for sure. If you want to do one in the middle, that's fine. You can do that just for extra support with the wood, but 2 is fine. It'll hold it tightly. So we're gonna make our first drill hole right here. So we got our first one. You want to make sure that you're going about halfway. It depends on how long your screws are. You don't want to go too deep. If your hole is deeper than your screw or longer than your screw, then you're not going to get as much grip. So it might be a little bit loose right here. So we're just going to go about 3/4 of the way through, and that's right about there. That way our screws grip in the wood right here. So we're going to make our next drill hole down here. Just kind of look in the middle. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you definitely want to make sure you get closest to the middle as you can. So looks about right. Uh-oh. I messed it up. So make our next drill hole right here. And then, once you have both of them, just make sure that you got your drill hole straight in the middle there. If you need to make another drill hole, I will do that now, just in case you missed it and it's maybe too far this way and you've got some splitting here or splitting on the other edge. You don't want that. Once you put it all together, you want to make sure it's sturdy. So obviously the middle is sturdier. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and drill the other side here. So just going to put it together like this by hand. I'm going to hold it. Now when you're doing this, you can just make a mark with a marker or your drill or a screw even. You just take a screw and puncture it so you have a little mark here. Then you can take this piece off and drill a hole here, and then proceed to drill the other board here, the middle board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drill all the holes so you guys don't have to watch for both sides, and then I will be back. Alright, so we're done. I've got my pieces put together. This is what your finished product is going to look like for the sides. So the next thing we have to do is put the plexiglass or the acrylic, whatever you get on. So we're gonna take our first sheet, and I like to leave the plastic on for now, just to keep it clean. That way I don't get it all dirty or get fingerprints or anything on it until I'm ready to go. So we're going to take this here and put it on the inside, and just kind of push it, mash it together there. Gonna make sure it's nice and tight against the edges inside. As you can see, it's just laying in there right now. This part is a little bit more difficult just because you have to hold it while you do it. I have figured out that having some clips handy just to hold that acrylic in place while you're drilling the holes helps a lot. So let me go grab those and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my clips, or my clamps here. I'm just going to clamp each side so it holds that plexiglass on there. I mean acrylic, whatever. Same thing, right? I don't know. Anyway, it's going to hold that on there so I can drill some holes through. This part, you might want to change drill bits depending on the size of your bolts. So right here we got number 8s. They're 32 by 1 to 1.5 inch. Pretty standard little nuts and bolts. If you're handy, it's great. Like, some of the stuff I'm telling you is going to be silly, but if you're not and you don't work with this stuff all the time, then it might be a little bit more difficult for you to find the you know, the right nuts and bolts. There's a method to my madness. So these are just long enough to where they're going to come through and not stick out like an inch. So you don't want to get really long bolts, because then you'll end up having to cut them, or it just looks really bad. So just enough to where it comes through wood in the plexiglass and you can tighten it on there. So we're gonna measure. This is how I'm this is how I measure my bolts. You know, you just stick it up there, and then I'll look from the top and see about how close it is. So this camera is horrible on this thing, but that's about right. It's about the same size. I'll go ahead and use this drill bit, and if these bolts don't slip through the hole really easily, then I'll get just a little bit bigger drill bit and drill a little bit bigger hole, so these will just slide on in. So let's go ahead and make our holes here. To grab the other side of the acrylic, plexiglass, whatever, and drill slowly. You can feel it go through the acrylic. It kind of feels like you're hitting a rock, and then once you go through, it'll just, like you just saw, it'll kind of just fall through. Want to be careful, as you don't want to drill all the way through the other side. So pull it out. Let's go ahead and check and see if our bolt fits in there. Alright, perfect. I can push it in, pull it out pretty easily. So a little bit of resistance, which is okay. So let's go ahead and make our second. We're going to do 2 bolts on each side here, and then do 2 bolts on the other side and 2 bolts on the other side. So now we make our second hole. Alright, so once you got your holes done, oh, that's crap. So this part, if you have just enough room if you buy the right kind of bolt. So we're going to go from the inside. Okay, so we're going to stick our bolt in right here. This is just enough, I think. Shove it through there. It's kind of tough first, get all that wood out of there. So take that clip off. So we're completely through. See from the inside, and it comes out the outside there. That's perfect. Go ahead and get our second one here. I'm gonna shove it in there. Perfect. Take our clip out. So it's pretty simple. As you can see, it's not perfect. If you look right here, plexiglass, I mean the acrylic, whatever, keep saying that, is a little bit longer, but that's okay. It's not really going to hurt anything. We'll still be able to put a lid on it. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that the plastic or whatever kind of glass you're using, on the bottom part, you want to make sure it's flush. Okay, so I wouldn't want to use this as my bottom part because it's not going to sit well on your base. Whoops. It's not going to sit well on your base, so if we do this, you can see that the wood is not flush. So on this side, obviously we have a flush fit, and there's not going to be big gaps in the bottom to where dirt or sand can come out or they could escape. So that's really important. So you want to make sure that it's flush on the bottom side. One side or the other, doesn't really matter which side at the bottom, obviously it's the same. So I'm going to go ahead and drill the holes on the other side and go ahead and get all this put together, so you guys don't have to watch this boring part. But I'm going to go ahead and put the bolts on here. I mean the nuts. So I'm just going to hand tighten both of these. I'm not going to use any tools with these just because, I mean, it's not like there's going to be any pressure on these really. So I'm just going to tighten as much as I can with my hands, and that'll be good enough. So you can take your plastic off before you do this part, right here on this part. So I would normally, I would just peel it back right here. That way when I put my bolts in, I can just peel it off when I'm done, and I don't have to leave any plastic on there when I'm pulling it off. So just for the sake, I'm telling you, I'm gonna take this off here in a little bit. I'm gonna pull the plastic off so there's no leftover. But anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and drill the rest of the holes in here and do the same thing for all four sides, and we'll be back. Alright, so we got one side of the plexiglass on here, and to get the other side on, you're gonna have to take these two outside pieces off, put the plexiglass on there, bolt it, nut it down, tighten it up, and then put these pieces back on. So I already have my holes drilled in the wood and the plexiglass on the other side. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and put the bolts in. Whoop. Bolt in. So I want to make sure you keep the sides correct as well. So this is on this side. If you mess it up, you're going to have to take it all apart and get the sides right, and it's a pain in the butt. So you just got to be careful for that. Take our bolt here. Need one more. Looks like one package isn't enough, so I got this other package here. I bought these at Walmart. 97 cents a package. Cheap. So you don't need anything fancy. Take our other bolts. Oh, forgot to drill a hole on this one, so I'm going to pause here. Let's put this bolt in here. I'm gonna pause here and I'm gonna drill a hole, and I'll be right back. Alright, so got my other side of the plexiglass on. Wrong drill. I'm gonna go ahead and start screwing this other side on. See the holes match up. I'm just gonna screw it in there a little bit. Make sure it's in the hole so it doesn't, I'm not creating a new hole. Side. So I'm going to screw it a little bit here. Make sure it hits that hole. There we go. And then once that one gets in there, you can pretty much rest assured that the other screw is in the hole, as long as you got one in there. If you did it right. Okay, drill's almost dead. I'm not going to do these too tight, but just tight enough to where it doesn't move. Once again, we don't need 50 psi or anything for this. We don't have a crazy animal in there, so alright, so finished product. I'm going to go ahead and peel the plastic off. Plastic is off, and you have an almost finished product. As you can see, hopefully, well, yeah, right there, right here, a little crack there when I was drilling the hole. Stupid mistake when I was drilling the hole through the plexiglass just a minute ago. I was trying to go too fast and cracked it. So it's important that you take it nice and slow once you hit that plexiglass, because it will crack really easily. So you just got to drill through it slowly. I know it is definitely tedious when you're drilling through it, but it doesn't take very long if you do it correctly, and then you won't end up with problems like that. I mean, it's not going to create any issues with the colony escaping or anything. It's just cosmetic, you know, just doesn't look pretty. Anyway, another reason I waited to pull the plastic off is because it does collect a lot of whatever's laying around. It's got some hair on there and stuff. Dog hair, cat hair, whatever. Alright, so now, anyway, that we got our frame put together, we got a plexiglass on, everything's good. We're going to take our base here, and we're just going to set this on top. This is our bottom side here. We're going to set this on top. And the base has to be as wide as the frame is. So, see here, it's as wide as the frame almost. It's good enough as long as it covers, it closes in the plexiglass or plastic there. It's fine. Alright, so once we get this on here, make sure that it's even on both sides so you have about the same amount of excess like this. See that amount of wood here sticking out the side. Once again, this is just cosmetic, but you're doing smart to do it right. So it's about the same on either side. Got it kind of in the middle. So this is, we're going to take our marker. This is how I do it. I mean, you can do it whatever way you want, but this is just easier for me. It's quicker. So I'm going to take our marker and we're going to basically draw a line here. That way I know where the edge is. And I'm going to go underneath here and make a mark here. And I'll explain why I'm doing that in just a minute. Oh, I moved it. Dadgummit. Be real careful. Oh, shoot. Be real careful not to move it, just because you want to make sure that it's good when you're trying to drill the holes. After we're done with this, and I'll show you here. Just make sure it's good on the other side. We want to be right in the middle, or as close as the middle as we can, because we got to screw this bottom part in. Alright, so made our marks. Kind of just draw an outside border here. Draw a little line here on the outside. Let's see if I can show this. Alright, so this little line here, that just shows me where this side right here begins. So when we're screwing in from the bottom, I want to know that I need a screw right here, you know, right in the middle of that. So I don't want to screw right here. That's in between two pieces. I don't want to screw on the outside. I want to screw right there in the middle. So I mark two little lines here. That way I know where the width is for these two outside pieces, if that makes sense. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Here and here. And if you're worried about the marker showing up, you can just sand it off. A marker comes off really easily with a sander, or if you want to do it by hand, if you don't have a sander, you can just sand it off real quick. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, so we have our marks made here, and I'm just gonna put that right there for now. So this is why it's important to draw those lines and make sure we're getting these holes right. It's because I know that this is the outside, so I got my piece of wood that starts right here, is where I want to screw in. So I'm going to do one hole right here. I'm going to do one hole here in the middle. I really should have gone more forward with this one. We'll just make this one a little bit closer to the front. See, I got my line on the side there as well, so I know I'm in the middle from the corner. Alright, I'm going to re-drill this hole over here. I made it too close to the edge. I want to make sure that it's held down right here. So I'm going to ignore that last. Oops, got some of the carpet on that one. Alright, so I got my holes here. We're going to ignore that hole. So we got 1, 2, 3 on that side. We're going to do the same thing here. About right there. And then we're going to do one about here. Once again, I have my line on the side. I also have this, so I know where that is, and we're going to do right about there. Alright, so I got my holes drilled on both sides. Bottom is flush there. So I also kind of am a sort of perfectionist, I guess semi-perfectionist when it comes to these things. So I want to make sure I'm lined up here. The lines match what I drew, and then make sure it's even. And once I got it lined up, I'm going to take this and hold it. Whoops. And I'm going to drill these holes through the side. or the frame. Oh, I forgot to mention, if this is a little scary, which to me it is a little scary to do this part, because I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to break the plexiglass or the acrylic or whatever, and I also don't want to crack this wood. After all the work we've done here, I don't want to mess that up. So what I usually do is I'll take a screw, a longer one. It's got to be a screw to have the point in there, and I'll stick it in here. That's not going to work. I'm going to find a longer screw. Hold on. Well, I didn't get in a screw, but this is even better. I got a nail. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to match it up again with my line that I drew. Okay, so once I got it matched up or lined up there, I'm going to take my nail, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it in here in the hole, and I'm going to make a puncture mark on the other side for all of the holes. Oops, dang it. Alright, got that. Make a little puncture hole here. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Just enough to where you can see where that nail goes. Push through that wood. Alright. So once that's done, we can see where I pushed that nail through. You see there's a hole right here. Looks like there's another hole right here. And another puncture mark right there, if you can see it. So that is a little bit easier for me. So I can just take this and filling holes, not too deep, just a little bit. Alright. Let's see if I can find the other ones here. It's sort of difficult on this one. Wow. It's not even... It's okay. So we got this one side, which is good enough. It's good enough to hold this basin in place while we can drill the other holes while this is screwed on. So I'm going to put a screw in. Grab my drill. Where is my drill? Oh, there it is. So I'm just going to go just a little bit through. And that one. Whoopsie. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on there. Got my holes matched up. Got my screws in the other holes that I just drilled. Alright. One more. That's not right. Okay, well, I got a new piece of base because this last one that I had was way too narrow. It wasn't wider than our frame, and it was messing up my holes, and I wasn't able to screw it very well into the base. So I just got a wider piece of wood. I have quite a bit of wood laying around, so I guess if you don't have a lot of wood laying around, make sure you get, when you buy it, make sure you get wide enough to where you'll have a little excess on either side. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and drill more holes. I've already got it outlined here. I'm going to drill the holes real quick and then we'll go from there. Alright, so I got my new holes marked. Just what I do is put the screws in on both sides, and then I'll screw them in just a little bit so that the pointy end, obviously the end of the screw, is sticking out, and I'll put it on top and I'll press down, and that way I get perfect marks here, so I know exactly where to drill these holes. I drill the holes so that the wood doesn't crack whenever I am actually connecting it to the bottom. So here we go. Okay. So I'm just going to screw these in. That's where the ends are poking out pretty good. There might be an easier way to do this, I don't know. This is just the way I do it. If you have a different way, that's cool. It's cool. Maybe it's better. I don't know. Whatever floats your boat. So go ahead and match up the holes. And then I'll screw too tight, but you want it to be nice and firm. Nice and close to the bottom. So if you look there, we have a little bit of a crack. This side looks fairly good. We got a crack in the middle. I'm gonna screw that down just as much as I can there. So let's see what we can do. See, got another crack right here. So I'm gonna push. That's not gonna be fixed. So that was an error that I made when putting the frame together, but it's okay. No big deal. That's why I got the caulk to fix those little mistakes. So anyway, this is finished product as far as like screwing goes together. So next I'm just gonna use the caulk right here to fill in these holes, these little cracks in the wood, so that we don't have any loose dirt or sand or whatever. So dadgummit. I'm also going to caulk right here at the bottom of the plexiglass on both sides, just so we won't have any loose dirt there as well. After that, I'm going to going to take this, just a drill attachment, so it cuts a hole in the wood, so you can stick your test tube in. Just gotta find the right size for your test tubes, whatever test tubes you have, and then I'll make a hole. I'll drill a hole, you know, right up here, or wherever you want your dirt line to be. Obviously, you don't want it to be at the top, because then when they're digging, they'll pile dirt on top. So do it about 3/4 of the way down, and then fill it up to dirt to right there, or sand, whatever the mixer is that you want to do. So I have a test tube there. I'm also going to drill one on the other side, on the bottom, like near the bottom. That way, in the future, if I want to expand, you know, to another one, or move them out of this one, or whatever you want to do in the future, I'll have that option without having to disrupt the colony later on when they're getting bigger. I don't have to screw a hole here to let them expand when potentially mess up their nest and harm the queen or the workers or whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill both of those holes there. Once that's done, I'll have my test tubes ready to go, set up, and I can attach it, put the dirt in. The last step is really pretty simple. You can use a piece of wood that you have. Let's see. Sorry, one second. Oh, there. You can either do this and have an extra piece and put it on top. So I did get these hinges here, and what I was gonna do is attach the hinge. I'd have to saw this down a little bit right here to fit inside, but I'd put the hinge on this right here so that I could just lift it up like this to feed. What I've done with from other ones that I've built, I've just screwed it in right here, and then had the other screw over here, but I would just loosen up this other side, and then it would just swivel like this, so I can drop food in there, or water, you know, when I need to water it. Their nest. But you can do either one, or another option is sorry guys, hold on. Another option is foam. So I have some foam here, and I mean, you can buy this stuff anywhere, but I would cut it and like cut a strip off of it and just put it in the top. I'll show you what it kind of looks like. Over here. This isn't perfect. It is more than one piece of foam, but it fits in there nicely. Harvester ants aren't really good at climbing up this at all. They can't climb. I have 2 of these right now, and I have yet to see one actually make it up past, you know, the dirt. So once they start climbing, they just fall off. But at any rate, I like the foam because it lets air get in, but it's also easy to just grab and pull up, you know, and throw some food in and put it back. Which is better than the top here, because then I have to unscrew it when I move it. I mean, it does swivel like this. Let's see how they're doing. They keep. Well, anyway, so you can do either one, but that's about it, guys. I have this test tube here pushed in, so you can see this the hose right here. So what I did was, this hole that I drilled in was too big for the test tube, right? So you can either use cotton to plug it up and make sure it's secure in there, or what I did was I took this tubing that I have and I cut a little piece off. It was about that big. And sorry, my desk is horribly messy right now, y'all, so I apologize. I haven't cleaned in about a week or 2. anyways, you cut a little piece off here, and then I just made a cut down the middle so it opened up, and I put it around the tube, and then had to cut a little extra piece here, but put it around the tube so that it acts as a filling for the test tube inside there, so it fits really firm. Like, you can see me moving it right now, like it's good. I can't even turn it. So just make sure it's secure in there, it's not gonna fall out or anything like that. But also the caulk, see how I caulked the bottom here, that I'm not losing any sand or anything. I had a little crack here, but other than that, they turn out really well. This one, they've actually started digging here. I just put them in there yesterday, and they've already started digging. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like in the corner. She started digging over here. She hasn't made it to the glass yet, so I can't see where she's digging, but